Welcome to Have You Read Any Good Books? I'm Mavis Applewater, and today's guest is award-winning author Anne Laughlin. Anne, welcome.
Thank you, Mavis. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, nice to have you. And Alice B. Reader's Award winner. You've got quite the accolades going. Goldies shortlisted for the Lambdas, and a new book out, Clean
Yes,
Kill.
yes.
Uh, Now, did I rewrite? A friend of yours help you with the title?
Yes, the title came from somebody else, a woman in my writing group,
Oh,
actually.
nice. That's always
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
And the title is a bit of a double entendre, as we'll
Mhm.
discuss, I'm sure, going forward.
The lead character, Nikki, so I have had the pleasure of reading the book. Thank you so much for that opportunity. I really enjoyed it. Lead character, Nikki Sullivan, retired, not so much retired, former police officer, homicide detective, is living a clean life.
Mm-hmm.
Is the resident manager of a sober living facility,
Correct.
and it's all good, as in some books, until the body start count starts happening.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, no
Yeah.
spoilers. I have a note for myself on that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no spoilers.
A little peek inside of Clean Kill for our viewers.
Sure. I'm sorry, there's a gnat or something flying over my face.
I have
Uh,
that happen. I like to grow fresh herbs, and it's always the basil brings it in. It's like,
yeah, yeah. Well, Clean Kill, as you said, is set in a sober living house in Chicago, the north side of Chicago, in a neighborhood called Andersonville, which is a great neighborhood, very cool. And Nikki, who has been sober for 5 years, is their resident manager. Nikki left the police department under her own cloud. She was kind of consumed by guilt over an accidental shooting that happened, which she took responsibility for. So that and her own unbelievable drinking kind of made way for the exit from the police department, and she entered rehab at that time. So the book finds her 5 years later, riding herd over 10 newly sober women who live in the sober living house, which is called Olive Street House. And, the pay is lousy, the headaches are many, but Nikki is devoted to helping these women kind of make the transfer from just total being blotto all the time into trying to put together sober days, because it's so bewildering in the beginning. So she's dedicated to that.
she
Um,
almost feels like, I don't know if she means to or not, but this kind of a maternal thing that kicks in for her. I
I
feel.
think, yeah, I think you see that a lot in recovery, in that one of the bases of recovery is being with other recovering people, and just talking to other recovering people is one of the things that most supports sobriety. So the person who has slightly more sobriety hopefully won't take a maternal tone, but it's a maternal effect. It's
Mhm.
somebody you trust and rely on. So to that extent, yeah, she could be called the house mother, I think, though she probably wouldn't like that.
I think she might get really irate at that, but I she just can't help herself to go in and try to fix things.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, it's a bit of a controlling nature, which in this setting works because by trying to help people or control what they do a little bit, she's actually helping in this case. And so that is the setting. And then what happens is that one of the residents of Olive Street House goes missing, and we find Nikki kind of dusting off her investigative skills and contacting her ex-homicide partner, Quinn, and she starts investigating. Um, subsequent to that and through the action throughout the book is, there's many recovering women who are murdered, and their investigation turns into a hunt for a serial killer. And that's the main plot. And then there are a couple subplots as well.
I felt that there was well, one, your book takes place in Chicago, and as you described the neighborhood, it's almost like Chicago itself is the character.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my hometown, and many of my books are set here. Many of them are set in Andersonville. And there's a coffee shop in Andersonville that makes appearances in a few of my books. So I'm I'm very settled with that setting. I feel comfortable with it and hopefully convey some of that feeling to the reader.
Now the bar scene and that I've once worked in the bar scene in Boston, and I don't know what it is in Chicago or, but someone's in recovery, and people assume that if it's been 5 years, you're good.
Yeah, 5 years is really nothing in the
It's
big
it's a
span
for
of.
it's a forever game, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And there's really the philosophy of why put yourself in harm's way.
Hmm.
So a person might be able to go, as Nikki does, she goes to a bar and refuses a drink and drinks coffee, but she's unsettled by the experience and doesn't want to go back. Just because, as she said, yeah, she orders coffee so that it looks different than the drinks around her. And
Hmm.
she said it's not that she wants a drink, she doesn't entirely trust one not magically appearing in her hand. And it's just the pull of alcohol is so insidious that you can't trust it's not gonna win. So precautions are taken. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been in bars since I got sober 34 years ago,
Oh,
but
congratulations.
I could count them on one hand in that time.
That's as long as I've been with my wife, 34 years.
Great.
Um,
Congratulations to us both. And
yeah, yeah. But I like the little details you use, like when you're going to sit in the stool, and it's such a ritual. Now, I've long stressed to people that I am very comfortable on the other side of the bar.
mhm,
I enjoy that. I like being creative that way. But the going in and order, and I used to like to go in and order my coffee, and there was a bar in Boston called Somewhere Else.
mhm.
And then, and it got to the point my coffee would be waiting for me.
Yeah,
And that
yeah,
was all that was in there is coffee, you know.
yeah. Well, good. Yeah.
I was that annoying lesbian.
Yeah, I just reviewed a book that had to do with lesbian spaces
Hmm.
and the spaces that kind of defined from the 70s on, and lesbian bars were the premier lesbian space that
Right.
they discussed, and also how it used to be there were numerous in a city like Chicago, numerous lesbian bars. And now I think there is one that I can think of, but I'm
Okay.
sure that's it.
Oh, you
Yeah.
still have one there. It's like getting to be like bookstores.
Yeah. Well, I think bookstores are doing better than lesbian
Yeah.
bars.
Now
You know,
in
lesbians used to be accused of not drinking enough was the.
those women, I tell you.
Mhm,
Well, the boys always treated treated us better for some reason.
mhm,
Now, Clean Kill
mhm.
is out now. Or
No, it's out May.
well,
Oh,
well,
yes,
when this
it's
by
out
the time
now.
this come out,
Yeah.
we've
Hmm.
agreed this will be airing by
Hmm.
May 14th.
Hmm.
So we'll be out by this will air and Clean Kill will be available. And links
Hmm.
will be in the description below so you can order Anne's book and her other books as well through her publisher, Bold Stroke Books, yay, Bold Strokes. Um, and also other distributors as well.
Yes. You should be able to order it from any bookstore. And of
Yeah,
course, there's the mighty Amazon.
the mighty Amazon or your local bookstore.
Yes.
If you still have one of those, please support them.
Hmm.
But this is book number
7.
7. All right.
And all of them have been crime novels, but of differing. sorts.
Sorry.
So some were private investigative books, some were police procedurals. Um, one was except for the ending, I would call it a cozy mystery. It took place on a college campus, and that one was called Veritas.
Good.
So a lot of different uh, ilks of the mystery genre.
Cozy. But that is now available through Bold Strokes. It wasn't originally Veritas.
Oh, Veritas has always been available.
Oh, okay.
Oh, my very, very first novel, Sometimes Quickly, I published with another publisher who then went out of business, and Bold
Okay.
Strokes got the rights to the book.
Let's see. Money Creek, which there is a screenplay, which is not a done deal on being a
Right.
film yet. Okay. Runaway.
Yes,
Uh,
Runaway.
A Day to
That was
Die.
a kind of a private investigator one.
I love those hard-boiled PIs. Yeah.
Hmm.
Especially when it's a woman.
Yeah, I
The
know. I love writing the character.
the acquittal and sometimes too quickly run away. You have four goldies and you've shortlisted for lambdas as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, little overachiever you.
Well, I've been blessed with a wonderful career as
Oh,
a writer of queer friendly fiction, and I appreciate it very much.
oh, it's and number seven looks pretty good. I did enjoy Clean Kill a lot because it's not just the murders. There's so many layers to this and
Thank you.
getting
Yeah.
into them and which makes it real because your lead character, Nikki, she's a lot of fun. And you want to smack her sometimes.
Hmm.
She's a person. She comes off as a real person. She's flawed. She's human. You're rooting for her though.
That's good. Yeah, you
Yeah.
want to be able to root for your character. That that deep risk of writing like a unlikable character is, it sometimes is a brilliant thing to do, but it's always a risk because readers really want to get behind their character through
And,
the course of the whole book.
and sometimes your characters could be their own worst enemies, like real humans
Absolutely.
are. It's like if you just stop that.
Right. You don't want to write them as perfect
No.
human beings. They have to have their faults in order to make them relatable. And Nikki has plenty of those, but I think there's a basic goodness about her that drives her throughout the book, and you never lose sight of that.
Now, this isn't the first time Nikki's appeared in one of your books.
Yes, it is. This is
It
the
is the first time. Okay.
first in a series.
First in the series. She is just adorable. You have to, well, not cute, but she's certainly got an edge to her.
Yeah. And she
And a
has
fun
real
one.
concerns. Like one of the subplots involves her boss. Her name is Jerry, and Jerry, unlike Nikki, really couldn't care less about the welfare of the people living in Olive Street House. She's all about the money, and really pressures Nikki over these kind of profit enhancing schemes she comes up with. And so
Love
there's a
to
lot.
hate Jerry,
Yeah,
I have to
yeah,
say.
yeah.
Just,
Jerry was fun to write because she's so hateful.
I not only doesn't care about the people in any of the sober house, I don't think she cares about any human being on the planet.
Yeah, she's pretty sour.
Yeah.
Yeah. You find her in her own difficulties, which doesn't explain her behavior, but gives you a little background to it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've run into her at the supermarket. You're just not a happy person and you want to take us all down with you. Yeah.
Right. The other part of that subplot, when I was researching the book, I came across a lot of articles about the darker side of the recovery industry. And this has been largely cleaned up, but not completely. And that goes to these companies who aren't necessarily professionals in the recovery world, but they run these sober living houses purely for profit. And a lot of people, show up at their house, and the accommodations are beyond shoddy. There's open drug use in the houses. There's no support for their sobriety. And a lot of this was found in Florida for some reason, but legislation and litigation have kind of cleaned that up a bit. But Jerry represents a little bit of that.
It is shocking that, and I hadn't, let me knock things over here, thought about how it's a business now. It's not set up by people like the original AA, Bill W. Come over, we'll talk about this. We're going to get through this together. We're going to work the steps. It's like, how can I make money off of your illness?
Yes. And it's a uh, population that recycles itself because relapse is such a big part of
Oh.
alcoholism that a lot of people are relapsing and circulating through these rehab facilities. So their audience is ready-made.
And there's Nikki. She's trying to work with her steps, stay sober, keep the other her uh, her charges, the other girls at the Olive House sober, very concerned about them.
Mhm.
And somebody's out killing people, like
Yes,
literally in her area and people around her. And
people who
she,
are in recovery
yes,
and who have relapsed. So there's, this peculiar commonality, which of course identifies it as a serial killer, because the weapon is the same and the victim has the same profile.
of course, nobody wants to listen to her at first,
Right,
except for her
right.
old partner, who trusts her instincts, Quinn.
Yes, yes, he does trust her instincts. And in this case, she offers a lot of valuable input into the investigation because she's from the recovery world, and the recovery world has its peculiarities and its kind of trademarks, and the non-recovery person might not know any of that stuff. So it turns out that all of these people, all these women who are dying, each of them has some connection to Nikki. So, like a former sponsor, a former person she sponsored, person she
Right.
dated, like that. And so not only is she motivated just because she wants to stop the serial killer, but she is feeling tremendous guilt because it seems to be the motivation for this killer.
And is if like navigating the sober waters wasn't difficult enough, and constantly worrying about, am I going to have a job? And in this economy, losing your job is a big sticking deal. She has nothing to really fall back on it, but she's
Right.
also starting the dating world, which is so much fun in
Yeah,
general.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, it's
She
just so easy. After,
Well, one thing about Nikki is her 5 years of sobriety, she never dated, never had sex. So we have somebody who's isolated a little bit or kind of boarded up that part of her life. So we see that she dates somebody as the action of the book starts, but then the major subplot of the book is her relationship with another cop on the investigation, Joanne Parker.
yeah, we kind of open up with, am I ready to be seen naked again? That
I'm
like
sorry?
when you get back into the dating world, am I ready to be seen naked
Oh,
again?
yes, right. Yeah.
Which is always a good time and so much fun because
Well, should be.
I'm trying to remember. Now it's an excellent book. I recommend it, especially it's getting to be that time of year, a good mystery, kick back on the beach.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's from people who are reading it now. I'm definitely getting the feedback that it's a page turner.
it is a
Uh,
page turner.
yeah, which is for an author a great compliment because if you can keep people engaged page after page, your pacing is right, you're doing
Hmm.
something right.
Like I said, and the city itself seems to be a character. And I said a beach read because where I live, it's kind of getting to be beach weather here. It's
Same in Chicago, and we have
yeah.
lots of beaches too.
Yes, you
So,
do. It's a great city.
mhm.
It's one of those cities that actually has a pulse.
Yes,
Like New
great city.
York, Chicago's one of them. Vancouver's another one. My home city of Boston,
Hmm.
where I live now, has a unique pulse. Las Vegas, that has a real quirky pulse.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna get Nikki through this. We hope. We hope she can
Yes.
figure it out. But after she navigates that, what's new for you? What are we working on something new? Something the readers could look forward to?
Yes, I have just finished the third draft of my next
Ooh,
novel, which is called Sparrow's Nest. And it's a big departure for me because it's not a crime novel, it's a historical novel. I would
awesome.
call it, if I had to characterize it, a historical thriller. And it's set in Berlin in 1929 and 1933, so before and immediately after Hitler takes over power. And my main character, Marty, is a fluent German speaker who was getting her PhD in German in Chicago and ends up moving to Berlin, married to her gay husband, and he wanted some protection against
Cool.
the anti-gay laws in Germany. And she wanted the ability to live in Berlin and get her PhD there. But most importantly, to discover she's just starting to grapple with the fact that she's a lesbian. So she knows no one, she knows nothing. And she's curious. In Berlin at that time in the 20s, I mean, talk about lesbian bars. There were 80 lesbian bars in Berlin during the 20s.
In
I mean,
that
which
region. Yeah, yeah.
boggles my mind. So she goes to she goes to one, she starts making friends, building community, which is so important, and having her first experiences. And this is all happening with the backdrop of the growing menace of the Nazi Party. And then in 1933, we jump ahead 4 years. Hitler has taken power, and Marty is working in the resistance against the Nazi regime. And we see the actions that take place uh, in that resistance.
And I
And
know
then
some,
there's one relationship that's a thread through both. Well, there's a couple of relationships that survive the jump in time.
oh, not just you were talking about her husband needed her as a cover. Well, like even back in Chicago, I mean, you're talking 1930s, you could go to prison for that,
Yeah,
for being gay.
yeah. Even in pre-Nazi um, Germany, they had this paragraph 175, which it made it illegal to be a gay man. However, lesbianism, they never made a law again. They basically they took women's without any seriousness at all. So they didn't
Yeah.
rise to the level of needing to be legislated.
Yeah, they'll do what we tell them anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, right, right. And I think there was befuddlement, just not understanding what women do together or why they would be together. So therefore, it can't really be a problem.
Well, I can recommend several books that will tell you exactly how that works. Oh, so excitement, a little departure for you though, definitely a thriller because that period of time before, and then you get into the whole 1933 and the resistance. I mean, it sounds like uh,
Well, I am
heart
very excited about it.
heartwarming and heart stopping at the same time.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I hope in Marty that I've gotten another character that the reader is going to be happy to go on this tumultuous ride with, and also capturing that era, both eras, was so important to do. And I did tons and tons of research, but the key is to not dump anything into the book that you
Right.
was a result of your research. So I think I was fairly successful in putting, making Berlin a character, in creating some of the menace of the Nazi Party, but also some of the really positive things about Berlin and her experience there.
Right. And, yeah,
Yeah.
another place that has a pulse. I
Yeah,
find that
Berlin.
locations are characters in themselves in so many books.
Yes, they are.
Like
Yeah.
you and I were talking about your friend and my friend J.M. Redmond, that New Orleans is definitely a character in itself.
Oh yeah, you can feel the humidity in Jean's books. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just you need a good
Hmm.
shower.
So Sparrow's Nest is probably another several months from being ready to send out.
Okay.
Um, so it's going to be a while before it's in print. These things take, it's a glacial pace in publishing.
And I try to encourage future writers, and they're hearing third draft and it's not ready to go out. That's how the
Mhm.
process works, and every writer's process is different. You don't just type it out up and send it out.
Mm-mm.
No,
No, no, no.
no,
And
no.
I'm
Every step.
blessed with
Sorry.
having a very vigorous, wonderful writing group. There's only three of us in it, which is actually great because we are able to concentrate on each other's writing more often. But they have really taught me about drafts and taught me about rewriting. And, my early books were basically writing them and sending them out.
Hmm.
But now yeah, it's several drafts. Same with Clean Kill, that was several drafts. And, consequently, in my opinion, it's made me a better writer because my skills have just improved with learning all of those craft issues with writing. Um, pacing, character, point of view, all of that stuff. Really, I've just really paid attention to it much more since I've been in the writing group.
Yeah, and Nikki Sullivan is a wonderful character, and like I said, I'm looking forward to actually hoping she'll come back again.
Yeah, well, I'll write another Nikki. I do like Nikki, and we are set up, for her to go forward as an investigator.
Hmm.
And I don't know how long it will be before I write one, but within the next year or two.
Do you find that some of your characters just will not leave you alone? They're going to be there for a while. It's like I finished this book, but I know I'm going to see them again.
Oh, well, I think each of my books I could have tagged another book on the end of it. And I haven't. I just have preferred to do standalones.
Right.
Nikki, Nikki, I feel a little closer to, but there were other characters in my book. Josie in The Acquittal was a character that I really felt a lot for. She was a bipolar woman and faced a lot of difficulties and really, was courageous. And I liked uh, her a lot. So, but that doesn't necessarily dictate what I'll write next. I don't know
Right.
what does, but I get an idea, and if I'm excited about it, that drives what's going to get written.
And you just run with it. Oh, that's awesome.
Hmm.
Do you have a favorite out of the seven? Or is it the new one you're working on now? Out of all your children here.
Yeah, the published ones.
Any of them.
Yeah. Well, the published ones, I would say Clean Kill, and followed by The Acquittal.
Equitable.
And but I actually recently reread Runaway just randomly. And I thought, well, that's a pretty good story. It really moved along and had a good ending. And so I really, I feel possessive of all of them. But in terms of character, I would say Josie in The Acquittal and Nikki in Clean Kill are my favorites, and I'll follow up with Clean Kill
Awesome.
with Nikki.
Well, thank you for sitting down with me today, especially these days where I was just watching something on this that uh, groups are organizing to ban books from libraries, and the largest number of books being requested to be banned are LGBTQ plus,
Especially trans.
especially
Yeah.
trans.
Yeah, they're getting hit
How
hard.
dare you? You know, it's like,
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah, I would almost be proud to have a banned book, but
yeah,
yeah, you
uh,
have to be big enough to get noticed, I think.
it's like, how dare you? I don't even want. I know how I feel, who I am. I don't. I would never tell anyone how they feel or how they define themselves. You know,
Right.
no, I don't know how you feel. I don't
That's
know
the
how you
great,
feel inside of you.
yeah, well, that's the great divide,
Mhm.
isn't it?
Some guy walked into the supermarket and he had a t-shirt that says there are two genders. Says who?
Yeah,
Says
God.
who?
Uh,
Well,
yeah,
I also like to point out that I don't know what happened with these. You tell me what happened in the Bible, it says, and well, I wasn't there, but neither were the dudes who wrote the Bible. So
right. Yeah,
just saying.
yeah.
I know how writers can make up stuff.
Hmm. We do. Yes.
And Clean Kill is officially available.
Yeah.
Yes, and find booksellers everywhere, including Bold Strokes Books. Again, the links are down below. Hit like and subscribe, and visit the gift shop, as I like to say, because now we have those coffee mugs for sale.
Oh, you have merch.
Yeah, we have merch. We haven't actually
Mm-hmm.
sold any merch. I haven't actually bought any, but we thought we'd get merch because I'm always
Mm-hmm.
drinking coffee through this because I'm allowed to still have at least 2 cups of coffee a day. So
Yeah.
I usually
Right.
stick a third. Just
This is my third.
yeah, no, it's going to be
Mm.
tea time soon. But let's keep talking about those books and please come back when you have we'll talk about your new one when you finished your drafts on 1933 in Germany. That sounds so exciting.
Oh, I'd love to come back when that book is out there.
Open
I'd like
invite.
nothing more. Yeah,
Oh,
thank you so
open it.
much.
Oh, no worries. I had a great time and thank you again, Anne.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Mavis.